Go ahead and write this homework down. I'll give you a new stamp sheet probably on tomorrow or Wednesday. It will be it looks slightly different. It'll include in the narrative how you have 1 day to turn in anything that's late, and that's a C. Anything after that is 0. You can still turn it in. Some of you might not realize this, that if your parents find out you're not doing anything because you can't get any points for it, they're going to make you do it anyway, and that's what I'm going to recommend. So before you think, well, it's too late, I'm not going to even do it, there might be a chance you're going to have to do it anyway, so get it done. So, and you're going to feel like a fool because you're like, if I would have just done this 12 hours earlier, I would have had full credit, but now I'm getting nothing and I have to sit here for an hour. Like, yeah, that was your choice though. You didn't want to do it when you're supposed to, and that's how it goes. Okay? So, and also you have this. I highly recommend Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Monday is with Mr. Easton. Tuesday is with Miss Wiz and K229. And Thursday is with Miss Nelson and H197. Thursdays is in the H building. Just remember that the doors do lock automatically. So if you don't get there before 3, I think the doors automatically lock. You won't be able to get in. So don't waste a lot of time between the 6th period and going to the homework club on Thursdays. We're trying to get it changed, but you have to call the locksmith to come out and reprogram everything. That'll take some time. Alright, so this will be in the new book. Notice how the page numbers in the new book don't start at 1. It picks up from where the volume A left off, 1A left off, 1B. Just continuation, just so we don't have to carry it all around. Okay, so in your notes, go ahead and write the slope. Write a positive, negative, 0, and undefined slope. Sketch a graph for each.
Bro, I'm a...
This doesn't require you to talk to anyone. Just get started, get going. Start ready. So, this is a new module, I believe, but not a new unit, so we're still picking up on the graphing theme that we have been working on. Your focus now is going to be everything that we just did, slope, find the equation, all that stuff, is to do that, but without a graph. So, like today, how do you calculate the slope given only the 2 points? No graph. And later on, how to write the equation. Without actually seeing a y-intercept and seeing a slope and counting, how do you write the equation anyways? See, the thing is that we're going to move to something that's more realistic, and when you're dealing with money and markets and things like that, you might get a slope of 8.31 minus 50.67, and when you go to try to graph this, it doesn't really work. So we got to have an algebraic method that works regardless of what fractions or decimals or anything. You can imagine as soon as you get like into the stock market, things like that, the slopes are not going to be, 1/3, -1/2, these little nice numbers. They're going to be these complicated decimals that are not super simple just to graph. So unless we have a computer or calculator, we have to use algebra, not rely on what a graph does. So we have a positive, that just goes up, a negative. 0 is what kind of slope? What kind of line? Horizontal. And then we have the one that's different from all the others. Undefined, which is vertical. All of these 3 graphs positive, negative, 0 have two things in common. They both have a slope, and they both have a they all three have a y-intercept. All three have a slope, all three have a y-intercept, so we use y equals mx plus b to graph any of those. In the case of a 0 slope, we don't write y equals 0x plus 5, you just might see y equals 5 or something. The other one over here, this one's different in all levels. It's undefined slope. It's not a function. And its equation is x equals. Because there is no y-intercept, there is no slope, so we can't use y equals mx plus b. It does not work. It's x equals whatever this x-intercept happens to be. If it goes through -3, it's x equals -3.
Does it have to go on forever? Like if it's just segment?
Doesn't have to, but in general we do put the arrows. And if we're talking about like the jacuzzi draining, it's going to start at 60 and stop at 0 because you can't have negative water and that kind of stuff. Okay. Speaking of, let's just do a little review. Just watch this, just remember, and I'm going to kind of show you what we're getting at for this whole week and this whole module. We're so used to looking at this, trying to figure out what the slope is. And just to calculate this real fast, the slope is the rise and the run. Make sure you always use the scale that's provided. Because if I ask you what the rise is here, I know a few of you, just from grading the final, you'd say it's 1. Even though this says 30 and this says 40, you'll say, oh, it's up 1. Okay, so you got to be careful and make sure you use the scale that's up 10. And then to the right, since it's counted by 1s on the right, that'd be up 10 to the right 1. And of course, no matter what 2 points I pick, if I pick these 2 points from here to here, there is a universal truth about this. Since this is a straight line, the reason it's straight is because the slope does not change. So no matter what 2 points I pick, from 50 to 90 is up 40, and from 2 to 6 to the right 4, it comes out to equal 10. So it does not matter what 2 points I pick, I must get the same slope. Every line has exactly one slope. Now when you get into like the stock market stuff, when you see, does this, goes up, goes down, and things like that, these are all different slope changes. But if you have just this one part where it's straight, that means there's only one slope exactly. That's important because we're in the graph calculating slope many different ways, and you have to know that, well, even if you use this other method, it's still the same answer, no matter what. And we could also go backwards. We can say, well, this is -20, and this is -2. -20 over -2 is still positive 10. So by looking at the graph, we know no matter what, it's always positive, it's always the same number, you can't change that. And of course, the starting point, you guys know that's when x equals 0. X equals 0, so 31. Start at 30. So this could be like, you start with $30 and you make $10 per hour. So after 1 hour, you have $40, after 2 hours, you have $50, and so on and so on. For many hours. Another thing, try another one. Just you guys try it. What's the rise here? How far is it from here to here?
30, Mr. Hodgins. 5. No, 35.
So this is at 55, as you can see here, and this is at 95. How far is it from 55 to 95?
Exactly 40.
40.
I thought you said 90. I'm sorry.
And from here to here, from 2 to 4, exactly 2. So you can see how, at first, you can think that So again, if you said 3, you're still thinking about counting squares. Look at the scale just to be careful. A lot of times I count by 1. But how can you get 40 and 2, but without graphing? If I'm given 55 and 95, how can you get 40?
Because 95 minus 55 is 40.
Right. And same thing with 2. How can I get 2? 4 minus 2. So this is the algebraic way, without graphing, you can get the slope. The change in y's, of course the y's are on top, over the change in x's. And that will give you the same answer. This is what you're going to be doing today. Distance between the y's on top, distance between the x's on the bottom. How far is it from 55 to 95? It's 40. How far is it from 2 and 4? It's 2. 40 over 2 is just like that. Like that. Go ahead and write this down. This is the formula, the way I want you to write your workout. So do m equals, or slope equals m, equals distance between the y's. Between means the difference, like subtract. The distance between the y's from 55 to 95 is 40. All over the distance between the x's from 2 to 6, or from 4 to 6 is 2. And this end part I call a skeleton. Just like a bunch of empty parentheses, because you're going to plug in 4 numbers. But the number one mistake, as usual in algebra, is really pre-algebra. It's negatives. Having it written this way avoids a lot of mistakes with double negatives and things like that. After a while, you won't need to use this anymore. It's just something we start off on to make sure we're not making a repeated error over and over and over. Okay. There's your formula. Okay, watch me up here. So if I want to find the slope between these two lines, points, without graphing, there's exactly one slope, right? There's one right answer. For every 2 points, there's one line, and one line is only one slope. Okay, first step, the skeleton. The first step would be m equals parentheses minus parentheses. Then, find the difference of the y's. We have 2 and 2. 2 minus 2. And then find the difference of the x's. So the x's are 5 and 0. 5 minus 0. On the top, 2 minus 2 is 0. On the bottom, 5 minus 0 is 5. 5. Now at this point, you might either say one of 2 things. The answer is 0 or the answer is undefined. Because you get mixed up of which is which. Is the 0 on top or 0 on the bottom? If you come across this problem, don't guess, graph it. Sketch it. Because once you look at the sketch, you'll know right away. 5, 2, 0, 2. So the slope is 0, so this must equal 0. If 0's on the top, it's okay.
Plus, it's coming from the X.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I know what you're saying. We understand.
If you're dropping 0 and 5, how would you, like how you graphed it, it went up? Like right there, where you're pointing at? How does that go up?
It's not up, it's horizontal.
I know, but like, shouldn't it be on?
Oh, 0, 5? Because you don't go left or right, but you go up 5.
Oh, wait, that's the first number up.
Nope, second number.
This is
All right. You guys go ahead and do this one. come around and see how we're doing. As you guys found out, the y's would be 2 to 2. The x's would be 0 to 5, which would equal 0 over negative 5, which once again equals 0. And somebody mentioned while you're working, like, well, isn't this the same as this? Well, let's go ahead and graph it. 0, 2 and 5, 2. Isn't that the exact same thing?
No.
What's different about it?
5.
5, 2, 5, 2. 0, 2, 0, 2. Aren't they the same point?
No.
They're switched
sir.
around.
No.
Switched around.
Okay, but aren't they the same
Yeah.
point?
Yeah, it's still horizontal lines.
No.
So it's the same line.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
it's because the negative.
There's no
There's
negative.
no negative.
What are you
I
talking
mean, on
about?
the other,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
No matter what, 2 points have exactly one slope. It doesn't matter the order. Okay? It does not matter the order at all. 2 points have exactly one line, fundamentals of geometry. So regardless of, because somebody will ask, well, does it matter which order we actually do it in? So we did, 5 minus 0 and 0 minus 5, and it turns out it does not. Okay, let's try another one. Go ahead and let's plug this in right. Hold on. Write it down. Write your skeleton out. M equals. Plug in the right, the y's on top, x is on the bottom.
X is on the top.
Write it up. And check with someone around you, see what you get.
It's 2. It's 2.
Negative 2 or positive?
Positive 6.
Yeah, it's
Divided by negative
Yeah.
is positive.
Alright.
Why else you make them
All right. Now, once you get an answer, go ahead and reverse it. Show that you get the same exact thing.
Ah.
So on top we get 6 minus 8. On the bottom we get 3 minus 4, which equals
2.
2. Now,
Amazing, Jim.
what if I told you to do it another way? How do I put it in there?
Just put it in, Chris.
So, right here, go ahead and write the other way. What if we did from 8 to 6 and 4 to 3? So we have 8 minus 6 is 2, 4 minus 3 is 1. Again, no matter which way, you can see initially it's a little different. -2 over -1. Yeah, but you still get both positives. Because if you checked it with graphing, 3, 6, 4, 8, there's only one line that goes through both of those. There's only one slope per line, so yes, they have to come out to be the same. One thing I had you guys do before is check to see if the answer was positive or negative before you started. How can you figure out if this is positive or negative, signs only, before you actually calculate numbers? And remember, with positive slopes, both numbers are either going up or down, meaning as the y's go up, so do the x's. Okay. So over here you can see that from 6 to 8, is that up or down? That's up. And from 3 to 4, is that up or down? Well, it's technically right, but yeah, so that's up and right. That's positive. Positive or positive, two positive numbers, that's a positive slope. Okay. What about right here? From 2 to 4 is, and from -1 to 3 is, that's right, so positive or positive, that's a positive slope. So you can tell, no matter what, 4 to 2, down, 3 to -1 is left, negative over negative is positive. So it's still positive. And you know what? That was the same 2 points. I just reversed them once again. So it does not matter what order, you still get the same positive slope. Let's go ahead and plug them in here. Try this one out, see what you get. These are the last ones, and we'll start on the And I want you to be proficient in this technical stuff, but I want you to see the bigger picture, that there's multiple ways of doing this, and in the future you're going to have to choose which way you want to find the slope. And if somebody does it one way and you do it a different way, but you get the same answer, you don't want to be quick to say, well, yours is right, mine is wrong, or vice versa. It's just you did 2 different ways, because the slope from here to there is the same as from there to here.
Wow.
So on the top, we have 9 and -2. On the bottom, we have -1 and -1. So watch out for double negatives. 9 minus negative is 9 plus. -1 plus 1 is 0. And we can kind of guess this ahead of time. How far is it from 9 to -2? You have to go down 11. How far is it from -1 to -1? 0. There's no change. So remember, we're finding the change in the y's over the change in the x's. So if there is no change, it will be 0. 0 means no change. And if you can't remember, well, which one is this? Is this the 0 or undefined? Just don't guess. Sketch it. You'll know when you see the graph. -1 comma 9, -1 comma -2, and you'll know. It's a vertical line, therefore this must be what?
The x's repeat anyway, so you know that's something.
Well, eventually, yeah, you get to the point that if you see repeating x's, you know that's not a function. Therefore, the weird one that's not a function is the one with undefined slope. And you also know that there's no y-intercept, so the only way you can write an equation here would be x equals -1. So you're taking everything we've done before, not forgetting it, we're not starting all over, but adding to it. Because how can we do it eventually, though, without the graph? And eventually you want to get to this point, if you see 2 coordinates and they have the same x value, in like 4 seconds you'll say it's undefined and the equation is x equals whatever the 2 x's that are the same. They just know right away after repetition. Alright, let's head over to the homework. Page 227. Now, on number 1, here's one I had, actually 1 through 6. I'm going to have you both graph it and find the slope, and then use the algebra and show it's the same exact slope. really want you guys to understand that you will not get a different answer because you're using algebra formulas as opposed to counting squares. Okay. So we go here, from this point to this point. Okay. What is the rise? And this is -2 right here, and this is 7 right here. So how far is it from -2 to 7?
1.5.
If you need to, you can turn it into just a basic word problem. If it's -2 degrees and it goes up to 7 degrees, how much more did it give?
9.5.
9.
Oh, wait, no. It ain't 4. Oh,
-2, 7.
okay.
No decimal involved.
Oh, I didn't choose 1 by 2. My bad.
And then here, how far is it from 2 to 5? -3. So from the graph, you have a slope of 9/3, which equals 3. So when we use algebra, for a fact, we have to get the same answer. No matter which way we do it, what order we use, we have to get the same answer. So below, do this. Show it using the formula. So skeleton. What goes on top?
3.
What two numbers you use on the top? 7 and -2, the y value. At the bottom? End up with 7 minus the -2, which is same as 7 plus 2, which is 9. Same thing that we counted here. And same thing here. 5 minus 2 is 3. So no matter what, whether you count or you calculate, you must get the same exact thing. Each line has one slope, regardless of the method. So have that for both. Have that for all each graph, 1 through 6. And of course, you already know from ahead of time because you have a graph, oh, that's positive. You better get a negative for here. You already know those rules. Don't forget them. Keep using them. This will prevent you from making any careless errors and double checking everything before you turn in like a quiz or a test. All right. Secondly, you'll get here, there'll be no more graph. This is what we're heading. How can you do this without graphing? So you just pick one of the, you don't have to do it one way. You don't need to show it both ways with the formula that you get the same answer. But at least try this. Say, okay, from 3 to 8, that's going to be positive, goes up by 5. From 5 to 10, that goes up by 5. Positive over positive is positive slope. 5 over 5 equals 1. So this one's a little bit easier just to calculate, but still show all the work. Show everything that we just did verbally. But you can really tell, don't get caught up in like, okay, I have to subtract, I have to add. All we're doing is finding out how far is it from 3 to 8. Oh, that's 5. And then when you do the work, oh, 8 minus 3 is 5. 10 minus 5 is 5. Do you have to simplify fractions? Did you ever ask that question? No. The answer has always been yes,
Why'd you flip it?
no matter what. Why did I flip it? Because I like positives. I'd rather have 2 positives than 2 negatives and have to cancel them out. Is it wrong if you did 3 minus 8 and 5 minus 10? No, you get the same exact answer. Whatever you want to do. If you always want to do first minus last, that's fine. But after a while, you'll be like, well, it's just a little bit easier to not have to deal with any negatives at all. So, it's up to you. And just remember, when you guys check each other's work tomorrow, you will notice differences. If somebody else had -5 over -5, you'll still have the same right answer, positive 1.
1 through 6, can we do the skeleton first? Or do it matter?
That doesn't matter, as long as they agree with one another. Yeah.
So that's all the work that we have to put. I mean, as long as it's that.
For 7 through 12, yes.
Yeah.
Now, let's get to 13. And this is where we're heading. All this is to actually get to a point where we can use this for something realistic. So we gotta do 2 steps. We gotta find the slope and interpret it. Don't skip this part. Some of you just like to skip where it asks you to think. So interpret means think. Tell me what it actually means in real life. Don't just give, oh, it's false. What does it mean? So let me show you a few so you know how to express this interpretation. So let's first find it. We already know how to do that. And of course, we want to use our algebraic method, not counting. The only time you're going to use the counting is on the first 6. After that, and from here on out, use algebra. Okay, what goes on top? 170 and 110. And again, you could switch it around, but this gives you all positive, so it's a little bit easier to work with. And on the bottom would be 84. So this is asking, how far is it from 110 to 170? Okay. How far is it from 8 to 4? And what does that reduce to?
20. Wrong. 10.
So this equals 60 over 4 equals what? 15.
Yeah.
Now, so we did the first part, we found what the answer is, now we have to interpret it. Interpret, usually a good place to start with interpreting is units. So on the top are the x's and the y's. The y's. What are the units of the y's? What are the units of the y values? Money. So what are the units? Dollars. So with the interpretation, include the units. That'll make sense really fast. What's the units of the x? Hours. Okay, $60 in 4 hours. This makes sense. This would be, what are the units of 15 then, if we divide it? $15 per, like 15 over 1, right? So that means $15 per hour. Now this makes sense. Hours worked, okay, so I'm making $15 an hour. So we just did, we found out that if I was in the middle of the shift, and I'd worked 4 hours, and I'd made $110, and then at the end of the shift, after 8 hours, I have $170, this is how you'd figure out how much money you make per hour. If you need to predict how many hours do I need to work in order to save up $500, you could figure out, well, my slope, or how much I'm making, is $15 per hour, and you can calculate how many hours you need to work in order to make $500. Realize anytime you hear that word per, that's the slope. Miles per hour, inches per meters, or dollars per month, or whatever, those are all the slopes. That's how much you're making. There is the y-intercept, that's just how much money you start with. This is actually very important. Now, one thing we really didn't finish up yet is write it out. Okay. Write out. They made $15 per hour. $15 per hour. So, to conclude this question, you must have an interpretation in words, not just 15 with units. but it all works. Okay. All right, that'll be it.